Have you ever been faithful, praying, showing up, loving your family well, and yet you still feel exhausted? If so, this message is for you. You're not weak, you're not failing. You're just carrying more than what you were meant to carry. And today, we are going to talk about one small stone that may be weighing you down. I want to say this though. I want to say this clearly before we go any further. And that is what you are feeling, it doesn't mean that you lack faith. It doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. Most of the time, it means that you're showing up faithfully for everyone. So today, we are going to be talking about the small stone of exhaustion. And exhaustion is something that is not always loud. It's quiet. Sometimes it's loving God deeply, and it's still feeling you're still feeling drained. You're still feeling drained by the end of the day. You love God deeply, but it's still something missing. You're still feeling drained by the end of the day. And it's small, sometimes it's small enough to ignore, but let me share this with you. But heavy enough to weigh you down. It's heavy enough to weigh you down. Many of us as Christian moms, we feel confused by this kind of tiredness. We feel confused by this kind of tiredness. We think that, okay, God, I pray, I trust in you, I trust God, I believe, all of that. So why am I still tired? Why am I still tired? But exhaustion isn't always a spiritual issue. Exhaustion isn't always a spiritual issue. Sometimes it's a sign that you've been carrying a lot of responsibilities, and there's a lot of expectations that you have upon you, and there is emotional weight that you have carried for too long without releasing that weight. And if this is for you, I want to let you know that you are not alone. You are definitely not alone. In just a moment, I want to show you where this exhaustion, where it often comes from, and why it feels so heavy. Why it feels so heavy, even when your heart, have any of you ever been there? Your heart's in the right place, but you just feel so heavy because you are exhausted. Here is what faithful Christian moms need to know, and what they need to hear is that, especially all of the moms out there who are at this point, who are exhausted. God never asked us to carry all of these things that we are carrying, that we put upon ourselves. They have become stumbling blocks to us. They have become obstacles. They have become obstacles in our lives. They have become stumbling blocks in our lives. And this is what God wants to protect us from, is from having these stumbling blocks in our lives and these obstacles in our lives that's stopping us from being fruitful. And he doesn't want that. He wants to protect us from that. So somewhere along the way, many of us have picked these things up and we have started carrying these things, these small stones, and one of them is exhaustion. Emotional needs that we can't fix, emotional needs that we can't fix. Some of them are responsibilities that God has never even assigned for us to carry, even assigned for us to even carry. Some of it is that pressure to be strong. Oh, that was one of mine. That was one of mine. Stones is the pressure to be strong all the time. I felt like I had to be strong for everybody all the time. And you talking about exhaustion. And, you know, we as Christian moms, we call it faithfulness. We call it faithfulness. But let me share something with you today. And this is one thing that I had to learn personally, that faithfulness does not mean depletion. Faithfulness does not mean being depleted. Sometimes that what we call faithfulness, it slowly turns into hustle. What we call faithfulness, it slowly turns into hustle, and hustle was never God's design for you or me. It is not his design for us to hustle day in and day out and operate in that exhaustion and depleted state. Hey, even Jesus withdrew. He rested. How much more do we have to rest? He stepped away from the constant demands. And there was demands that he had, but he stepped away from the constant demands. So if you are exhausted today, Mom, if you are exhausted today, it may not be because you're doing too little. It may be because you're doing too much. You're carrying too much. You're trying to carry too much. See, we as moms, we feel like that we got to carry it. We got to carry it. If we don't carry it, nobody else is going to carry it. So we feel like we got to carry these things. And this is what is causing us to be exhausted, to feel depleted, and to feel crushed, and it's constantly causing us to stumble over the stone every day. So, Mom, stay with me just for a few more minutes, because I want to share one peaceful way to begin laying this stone down, laying it down, so that you can begin to flow in peace and harmony again. One small way to begin releasing this stone of exhaustion is to pause and ask yourself, what am I carrying right now that God never actually asked me to carry? What am I doing? What am I doing that he really never asked me to do? Not every need is yours to carry. Not every need is mine to carry. Not every expectation requires our response. And not every season is meant to be lived at the same pace. Sometimes honoring God, it looks like letting go and not pushing through. Letting go and not pushing through. I think many of us are good for just continuing to push and push and push and push through. So sometimes we have to let go. We have to let go. So I hope this message spoke to you on today. And if it did, I invite you to spend a little more time with me here on my YouTube channel, where I share weekly encouragement for Christian moms learning to carry less and live lighter. You were never meant, I was never meant to struggle and be under the weight of these stones. Be under the weight of these stones that's causing us to stumble in our daily life and daily activity in being a mom. But allowing them to become obstacles in our lives. You don't have to put, let me share this with you. A lot of times we feel like we get overwhelmed because we feel like we got to do everything at one time. No, you don't have to put them all down today. You don't have to lay everything down at one time. We can do this one small stone at a time, and that is enough. We can lay them down one at a time, and that is enough. Thank you so very much for joining me on today, and I hope to connect with you on next week.